Okay, today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and Necromunda. If you're a fan of Necromunda and are wondering if this is an expansion into the Demons of Meridian Apocrypha book and Sarn the Cyberoth, alas, no. If you're a fan of AI and have no idea what Necromunda is about, oh boy, you are horribly lost. Just be assured that when the men of iron eventually turn on humanity, we will endure, but it will be the start of 10,000 years of darkness. In the meantime, in this video, I am going to be looking at ChatGPT to help us generate some background for our Necromunda games. I'll talk about what ChatGPT is and, more importantly, what it's not. I'll look at what it knows about the 40k universe and Necromunda specifically. While we will be focusing on Necromunda for this video, you can use the exact same tools for any of the other games. Okay. All right, so this is ChatGPT. The first thing I want to emphasize is that despite the marketing of it being an artificial intelligence, it is not in fact intelligent. The products we're seeing appear on the market currently are what are called large language models. A large language model. Okay, so essentially what happens here is you have your black box, you then feed tons and tons of text into it to train it. It makes connections between these words and phrases. Then when you give it a prompt, it uses the connections it has to churn out a response based on its best guess. So at a very basic level, if you teach a machine A plus B equals C, then it will know to respond with C if you prompt it with A plus B. The difference between a pocket calculator and a large language model at a really simple level is just scale. Today we're going to be looking at ChatGPT. This is a free text interface that's pretty good at understanding natural language. So we're able to have a conversation with it. What's particularly interesting is that it does have data included on 40k and in particular Necromunda. So this is where companies like OpenAI, who created ChatGPT, run into some ethical issues. So does ChatGPT contain copyright material? Of course, it is going to say no. Um, Now, there is a ton of GW content in ChatGPT. Now, where exactly that comes from is unclear. I suspect we're looking at a lot of Wikipedia material and probably some forum clutter. Some of this could be coming from the Warhammer community website, but we also could be looking at entire books just fed into the machine wholesale. We don't know because it's a black box and the company isn't telling us. Now, I don't think they've reached out to everyone who's, updated a Wikipedia article or contacted everyone who posted on Goonhammer to find out what's going on. Uh, it's unlikely that GW has actually given permission to include this material. It's in there. The legalities of it are actually not important to this video. Uh, so, opening graph, the first book in the Horus Heresy series. So this isn't the opening to the Horus Heresy series. It kind of sounds like it could be. Uh, the details are right. It makes sense, but it doesn't have the kind of flair of Dan Abnett. Now, you can actually ask it to do it as if written by Dan Abnett. Well, let's try that. I'm not sure if much is going to change. One of the key things about these models is that they give plausible text. It isn't necessarily going to be accurate, so if you give it a prompt, it will return with something, but you can't necessarily rely on it. Now, what's interesting about this from our perspective is that this is created. This is It's plausible. It's not accurate. Okay, so yeah, given a prompt, it'll follow the connections that it's made as training data, and it'll produce something. So the key point here is don't ask ChatGPT medical questions or anything important. It will give you an answer, but you can't rely on the answer. It doesn't. It produces fiction. Just as long as you remember that it produces fiction, and that is quite useful for us. So I'm just going to copy this prompt that I've got here. I'm going to paste it in. So there isn't a series of novels set in Necromunda, um, but we can give it a bit of the background, the story, and it will give us an opening paragraph. So the Hive World Necromunda was a place where power was everything, true, and no one wielded more power than Lord Gerontimus Helmar, ruler of the sprawling labyrinthine city-state known as Hive Primus. Also true. His word is law, his will absolute, and his enemies were legion. But all that changed in an instant when a failed assassination attempt left him clinging to life in a coma. All true. With Helmar incapacitated, the balance of power in Hive Primus shifted as rival factions and factions within factions vied for control of the sprawling vertical city. And in the midst of this chaos, a new hero would arise, one who would dare challenge the right of Lord Helmar's dynasty and fight for a better future for all of Necromunda's downtrodden masses. Seems unlikely. Okay, so we can tailor this. So we can ask it to rewrite this in the style of a 40k tech priest. So we're already getting the omnicized blessings in. The world Necromunda is a nexus of industry and power, where the omnicized blessings are evident in the towering hive cities and endless machines that sustain them. Among the rulers of this world, Lord Gerontimus Helmar held a place of great prominence. His mastery of technology and manipulation of the populace earning him the epitaph of the Technocrat. Not true. I don't think so. Maybe. Yet his reign was not to endure, for a failed attempt on his life left him in a state of cybernetic stasis. Interesting. A mere shadow of his former self. In the aftermath of this event, the balance of power in Necromunda was thrown into disarray as rival factions and scheming nobles sought to seize the helm. But amidst this turmoil, a new spark of hope emerged. Blah, blah, blah. We can also ask it to expand upon it. Now, sometimes stuff will stick, sometimes stuff won't. So when I ask it, it may or may not stick to that, to the AdMech style. Okay, an expanded version of it. So we're doing the start. Well, here we're just asking for some main characters to be added. So, yeah, okay, what we have. So we've got Enforcer Lucas Vorn, a veteran of the Hive's brutal law enforcement agencies. Nice, nice. Who's grown disillusioned. All right. Another was Mordecai Seven, a charismatic preacher of the cult Mechanicus, believed that the only way to save Necromunda from his own decay was to embrace the omnicized teaching and create a new order based on the purity machine or flesh. So we've drifted maybe, we mentioned a lot of 4K stuff to it. It's kind of pushing us in that direction. And then there was Leonora Krieg, a talented scavenger and thief who learned to navigate the Hive's darkest corners and sought to use her skills to aid those in need. All sounds good. These three unlikely allies came together. They found themselves embroiled in a complex web of alliances, betrayal, and secrets as they sought to uncover the truth behind the assassination attempt on Lord Helmar and navigate the treacherous waters of Necromunda's political landscape. But with each step they took, they drew the attention of those who would stop at nothing to maintain the status quo and soon found themselves hunted by both old enemies and new threats. It's a story, you know. I mean, I've run this particular prompt a few times, and we will get something different out. So if I hit regenerate response, it'll basically do it again, but with a different spin on it. So these are not factual. These It's all just plausible text, but you know it makes for kind of a nice background for a nice story. Um, we're able to generate characters, kind of get a bit of an overview of what they're like, scenarios, kind of connections. You know, there's cool elements of story in there. Okay, so we've got kind of cool story elements in there. But how does that help us enjoy our games of Necromunda? That's the next question. Well, I've been playing role-playing games for many, many years. And I have a few friends who are super creative at the drop of a hat. But I'm not one of those people. one of the great things about Necromunda campaigns is the narrative, the ongoing story, all of the different things. So when I put together a gang, I want to put together a Goliath gang. Um, actually just getting a name for a Goliath gang can be tricky. So we can ask the bot, create 10 names for Goliath gangs. It'll come up with some ideas. Iron Titans, Stone Hammers, and these are all very stereotypical in the kind of theme. So it has, stereotypes is probably the best way to phrase it. It has stereotypes. It's made connections with the Goliaths that it thinks it makes sense, and we can do the same for. Give me 10 names for Escher guys. And it'll be in a different style. So we've got, it's all kind of feminine. We've got Venom, Toxins, Black Widow, Death Blossoms. It has associated, I guess, flowers and women and snakes and poisons. Escher. It's the kind of stereotypical things for Escher. So we can pick one of these, or we can use it. And similar for names. So come up the names for, well, we'll go Goliath Gangers. Those are um, those are fine. I would prefer if they were bigger. Redo with forename, nickname, surname. Yeah, okay, close enough. So it's given us nickname and surname: Rubble Boulder Breaker, Quake Rock Smasher, Terra Earthquake. We might need to maybe give it some prompts. So yeah, you can give teams. Um, you can kind of suggest a direction for it to go down. We're not going to worry about that, but it's a great way of kind of getting the creative juices going to kind of get an idea. You can also do the same with so we've done the names for gangs, we've done names for people. You can also do the same when you're looking to get the kind of greater narrative elements. So if you are going to be running a campaign and you kind of want to get a little bit of help on setting the scene, that is something you can also do. So I've got another one saved here. So I'm just saying we're going to start a new Necromunda campaign. This will be set in the Underhive of Necromunda. Describe the part of the Underhive that this campaign will be set in. Give the area a name. Invent some important characters in the area who are not part of the gang. Now, this is kind of a key bit. Because it's been fed in a lot of data that's kind of gang related, it will typically, if it's asked to give in a character, insert something that is gang related because it knows the major gangs and kind of goes with that. And then we're asking for it to describe some locations in the area. So you can be specific, you can kind of narrow it in certain directions, kind of give it certain themes. Let's see what it comes up with. So this campaign will be set in a particularly dangerous and chaotic section of the Inner Hive known as the Furnace District. This area has gained its name from the massive furnaces and smelting operations that dominate the area, belching out noxious smoke and fumes that taint the air and corrode metal and stone alike. Several important characters from district are called this district home, including the local Scrap Baron, a shrewd, ruthless scavenger who controls much of the area's valuable scrap and metal resources. There's also Red Eye, a mysterious figure who oversees a network of underground tunnels and is said to have connections with various criminal organizations throughout the Underhive. There are several key locations. So it's got the Forge of Ash, which is pretty cool, the Rusted Halls, Pit of Despair. Uh, we've got a bit of color, we've got some details. That kind of sounds pretty fun. So, you can get it to change details. You can get it to add more. You can change a name. So the pit is run by the master. You could tell it to change that name. It takes a couple of which. Okay. What else can we do? Oh yeah. Okay. So one of the cool parts that I think is right. Let's say we have a campaign. We'll say in the campaign we have 4 players, one Escher, one Goliath, one Black, and one Van Sar. So typically players will do this part themselves. So generate names for each gang and for the leader of each gang. All right, so we're going to get 4 gangs. We're going to get some names. So it's giving us options. So it's giving us 5 different options for each. I'm just going to tell it to pick the first in each. Pick the first option in each for each gang. All right, so we've got the Poison Vixens, the Iron Titans, and the Night Shadows, and the Techno Hunters. So all super stereotypical. You know, it's almost derivative. Yeah, I think if you wanted to kind of switch things in a certain direction, you might have to. Actually, let's do that. Okay, so we had one of these characters back up here. So we had the Master. Okay, so give more background to the Master character who runs the pit. Runs the pit. Now, what we can do is we can actually get it to base it on a historical character. So it will have kind of certain templates that you can go by. So if we just asked it to do this, what we'll probably do is probably pick a gang, and it would kind of give the stereotypical ideas for a gang. So we could say, you know, base this character on, just look at my desk, nice little Captain America on uh, that's from Marvel. Would make him 40k and Necromunda. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, Captain Neveron. All right, it went for Captain straight away. Oh, okay. All right. Stop. Okay, so this is a perfect example of how it doesn't understand. It just has text. So it saw Captain, and I guess I did ask it to take Captain America, and it immediately went for Space Marines of the Ultramarine chapter. All right, so maybe let's take it in a different direction. Character on I think yeah, Napoleon Bonaparte is probably an easier way to go. Hopefully I spelled it right. All right, okay. So it's taken the brilliant tactician, the charismatic leader, it's taken those elements, it's put them in the Imperial Guard. Interestingly, the Imperial Guard would have been the Necromunda spiders, so it's kind of a cool element. Um, the is a man, the Emperor of the Underhive. Oof. It's cast out of the Imperium after an ambitious coup attempt against a planetary governor. Interesting. All right, that's a pretty cool background. Okay, now it directly mentioned Bonaparte, and we're getting the Emperor from there. Well, we're getting some of the characteristics. So we're getting natural born leader, you know, military leadership, um, criminal activities, benevolent ruler, provides. So that's what I mean. So you can kind of feed in archetypes into it, and it will kind of go in that direction. But as you can see, it can certainly go in weird directions. Although now I'm kind of interested in that story about Captain Neveron, the Space Marine of the Ultramarine chapter, based on Captain America. What's he do? So oh no, torture by chaos. Dark gods refuse to break. Oh, that's all right. That's kind of cool. Anyway, right, we'll move on from that. The point is, you can kind of feed in archetypes, and that is a way to kind of flesh out characters. All right, but we go back. We go back. All right, so we've got the poison vixens for each leader in the 4 gangs. The poison vixens. So it should remember that we've been talking about this. It has the buffer of its memory only lasts so long. It can only kind of keep up to date with so much, but this should be close enough. Techno Hunters, usually are like 4 gangs. So this is something I like. And like you could sit down and you could do this, but it would be a chunk of work. Generate 1 ally and 1 enemy. Detail the friendship and rivalries. A short paragraph. You see I made a spelling mistake come up. Smart enough to realize that, humans dumb. Okay, scroll down. All right, so poison vixens. Ally. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. That's kind of cool. That's very cool. Um, but not what I was looking for. So it was generating random characters. Detail the generate 1 ally and 1 enemy from amongst the other leaders. All right, so this is what I was looking for. Okay, so the Poison Vixens are allied with the Night Shadows and are an enemy with the Iron Titans. Now, let's look at the Iron Titans. Iron Titans, enemies of Poison Vixens, good. And the Night Shadows are enemies of the Poison Vixens. That didn't quite work out. So this is saying that the leader of the Night Shadows share mutual distrust with each other, all right? The Night Shadows consider them to be an enemy. Okay, interesting. An ally with the Iron Titans. Redo the above and make sure they match. So if one gang is ally, another can is first. Not sure if that'll work. So Poison Vixens. So okay, the one we were looking at here was the Night Shadows, who were enemy with the Poison Vixens, and ally. Yeah, and where the Poison Vixens thought they were allies. So let's see. So Poison Vixens are allied with the Night Shadows, and that did not change anything at all. There you go. I mean, it's something you could certainly work with, but I think it kind of goes to show that it doesn't always get where we're going. Now, I could probably phrase it better. I could probably put it in a better direction to get out what I'm looking for. But, I think that's pretty cool. Key parts here. It is a large language model that has been trained with 40K and has been trained with Necromunda. So we can put prompts into it and we can ask it to tell us stories. Okay, now the next one that I like is between. Oh yeah, so if we have a campaign battle coming up, we can actually ask it to generate a fight between them. Okay, so the Poison Vixens. Poison Vixens and the Night Shadows are about to fight a battle. We cannot ask it to generate one for us unless we give it a specific. So let me pretty quickly pull this up. So it doesn't know the book. It doesn't know what what options there are. So if we give it to it, pick one from, we're going to say border dispute, the Marauders, standoff. So these are all of the so these are all from the Dominion campaign. Right, so we're going to go with sneak attack. So in this scenario, the Poison Vixens have been tipped off by a spy of the Night Shadow that the Poison Gang is planning a raid on them. Instead of waiting for the attack, the Poison Vixens tried to strike first. So here it's actually gone a little bit further than I was expecting. I was kind of asking it to pick one, and then we were going to prompt it later. But it's gone straight. It's got a little bit of narrative. It's got a bit of a story. It does have a habit of doing this. So yeah, it declares the victor already. We weren't asking for that to happen, and even when we're asking for prompts beforehand, it can sometimes keep telling the story because the language models it has been trained on typically have a conclusion, so it's kind of something true to work through. Regardless, we have something cool here. Okay, so we got a little bit of backstory, a tip off. That's kind of fun. We know it's a sneak attack. We know who is sneaking, who isn't. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Let's stop generating. I'm just going to go back to my one. Okay, that's a thing. If you're interested, you can just regenerate, and you can keep regenerating until you find something you like. One thing you cannot do, as we've talked about before, right? And then write up the scenario with rules, special rules. So we're doing a sneak attack. So okay, so we would have the special rules. We'd have tactic cards. We'd have reinforcements. We'd have the rewards. It doesn't understand this. It isn't. It isn't in the model, or if it has picked up the model, it doesn't necessarily understand what's relevant about it. So maybe it did see um, the section that related to it, on a Wikipedia page somewhere, but it may not have understood. Okay, so we got the background. That's cool. We got the setup. Um, Saying where you can. I mean, you could certainly use that. That is definitely usable. Objectives. You win if you eliminate all the models or cause them to rout. Now, the sneak attack. What's the objective for sneak attack? So deployment here it's all about gang relics. Is that right? Feel like I should pull out my actual rulebook. All right, we have it. So from looking at Necrodamus, I can see it does not give me the page. All right, let's skip on through. Second powers, additions. Not what I'm looking for. All right, sneak attack. Okay, so yeah, it's gang relics. It's all about gang relics. So all of this is rubbish. Deployments off. Credits D6 by 10. So that's a stake. It is actually D6 by 10, but only if you've a defiled Defender's Relic. Each XP isn't right either. I mean, look, it's just wrong. The game or the bot doesn't actually understand the game, so do not rely on it. Do not ask it about any actual proper details. It just doesn't know. It'll lie. Or it will return a piece of text that is plausible, but unfortunately it's not necessarily accurate. Okay, moving on. But what we had there was a nice little bit of color, and it was kind of cool. Another thing that you can do is you can actually generate background newsletters, which is something I quite like doing. So each week, players will play out their games. So let's assume the Poison Vixens win out that game. The Poison Vixens won their last one. Now we can ask it to write a newspaper cover as if written by a hive scum. What was the name on the area called? Hive scum from the Furnace District. So we're going to ask it to include a story about the Poison Vixens victory, but also include 3 additional stories. And those stories have lots of detail, include New invented character, newly created characters. And what else can we say? Yeah, okay, we'll just go with that. Furnace District Herald. So Herald seems to be a pretty typical thing. All right, so we talked about the chemicals weapons. Obviously, if you're doing this, what you'll want to do is you'll want to tailor that particular story. But that'll give you an initial draft that you can kind of work from, work out what happened in the actual story, and then put that up. Mysterious disappearance of the Van Sar gang. All right, this this is going to be news for whichever player is actually playing the Van Sar, and just kind of shows a problem. So you can change this. You should change the details of this to something else. Or you could run with it, I guess. Goliath gangs. Oh, okay. So it is including a lot of. Again, it's including a lot of detail. Where the gangs redo the above, but remove references to all gangs. Select the. So we're gonna keep the poison vixens and night shadows. And yeah, we'll format the page in a 40K style with a thought of the day at the end. So look, we're getting the plus plus plus. Hive tensions as poison vixens secure victory against the night shadows. Cool. Okay. Scavenging activity in lower levels. Wealthy spires of the hive. Okay, so that's kind of getting a bit out. And it's got a thought of the day. Ignorance is the seed of heresy. Cool. Bizarre incident. A group of mutants were spotted in the markets of the Hive Central District. Witnesses report that mutants appeared to be peaceful and were attempting to purchase goods and were quickly chased off by actors. This is perfect. So stuff like this is just kind of things happening in the background that may or may not be relevant. If you can find a place to kind of do a nice format for that and be able to send out as a newsletter, all the better. Yeah, kind of cool story. So the key thing here is you're letting the bot come up with random fluff, and then you're directing it as you want. So you construct the framework of the story in the same way as your games construct the framework of the story. So if you've got 4 players, like we've suggested in this campaign, they kind of settled in their own names, they settled in the gang names, and then that's part of the story. Then when they play through the fights, that's more structured to the story. And then what you're doing is you're letting the bot take that structure and fill it in with some fluff. It is the same thing that if you had a creative person who was, willing to spend the time to do it, they could do something twice as brilliant. But this is something that can be quickly done off the cuff with a couple of easy prompts. You can do the exact same for some of the other games. So I'm a big fan of Warcry. What do you know about Warcry? Knows a lot about Warcry. Yeah. So it understands Age of Sigmar. It understands Gur. It knows a little bit about the Gnarlwood. What is the Gnarlwood? Gnarlwood may be a little. Okay, hold on. This is the Gnarlwood in Gur in the Age of Sigmar. Okay, there we go. So it does recognize it. And, there's probably a bunch of different games you can do with that. Because OpenAI have basically just hoovered up a bunch of the internet, they have ended up accumulating a lot of fluff for the various GW games. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. So tell me about the 2 missing Trimarchs from 40K. So we don't know who these are. Very little known about them. Theorized. Actually, that's kind of cool. Some fans have theorized. Speculated. Mystery. We can invent the details One of those primarchs. And what it should do... Oh, Valtor. Well, we're going to stop that here. I think that might be heresy. All right, let's try Izalith. All right, we've got someone who isn't already in the setting. That's kind of cool. So what do we have? Shrouded Mystery, deleted, Charismatic Engineering, Heroism, Legion. So, I mean, look, a lot of these details are kind of generic stuff that kind of relates to the Primarchs. Penchant Unorthodox Tactics, not to make deals with Xenox. With Xenos. No, tut. Find battle. Okay, so it's not really giving us more details. But so this is obviously a pure invention. And that's what you kind of want to use this for. This is one of the great things about this, but at the same time is a problem. You don't want to take it at face value. So when we're looking at it in terms of how you can use it for Necromunda, background fiction. If you're looking for rules or if you're looking for any details, unreliable. Double check everything. But if you give it a framework and you ask it to tell a story, it will be delighted to. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.